हमारे वक्त की धड़कन, हमारा चिंतन, हमारी भावनाएं, हमारे विचार, कभी कोमल बातचीत तो कभी इंटरेक्शन तेज तर्रार। तय करें मिलकर व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, व्हाट इज राइट। ITV पर अशोक व्यास के साथ इनसाइट टुनाइट। Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas. Welcome to Insight Tonight with Ashok Vyas. And as we always say, let us join hands together and figure out what is wrong and what is right. And that is always not an easy thing to do. Looking towards India, election season is very much the thing that is drawing everybody's attention. But today there was another news which also brought the modus operandi of the gentleman who is the founder of Indian Mujahideen, Yasin Bhatkal. INA, investigation agencies shared some information about him which are shocking in a way, how internet is being used to motivate potential terrorists in India. He said, and they found on his laptop, on the hard drive, videos of Osama bin Laden and some other important Al-Qaeda leaders, which he was using along with other documents to motivate potential terrorists in India. So that being one news, and then there has been some similarities between India and America, which we have always talked about, one being both are democratic countries, and then there is so much diversity in India as well as in America, and there are counter-terrorism efforts where both countries are working with each other in ways sometimes which are beyond public eye. But what we see through media, sometimes we figure out that there was some important information which were given to India by America, which were not given due attention in the due time, and that resulted into the Mumbai attack. We all want a world full of peace. We all, when I say, most of us, I must say, because there are some people who are, of course, not looking at peace the way other world is looking at. We try and define our problems in different ways, and probably that creates an overlap of the area where we have some agreements, some disagreements. And today, it's a very special show where we are going to be discussing all these related issues, where we talk about America's security, where we talk about the future for our next generation with so much access to all that is available on the internet. And what kind of world we are making for ourselves is the key questions for anybody who is alive to the world around him or around her. And today I have someone in the studio who is a speaker, who is an author, and she is also the president of American Freedom Defense Initiative and publisher of AtlasShrugged.com. She has also written Post-American Presidency, the Obama Administrator's War on America, etc. She has been in the news for various reasons, and we'll go towards that side gradually. But first of all, let me have the pleasure of welcoming you, Pamela, to our studio, and Namaskar is our way of greeting you. So you have said that the problem is we cannot talk about the problem. You have also said that truth teller is marginalized in our nation. And many of your statements and your interaction at some important mainstream media suggest that there is a kind of fearlessness in you. So tell me, where would you say is the origin, the root of this fearlessness?
Well, I don't know that I'm so fearless as that everybody else is so fearful. And intimidated, and I think that that's really the big problem. My, passion for the work comes from my love of freedom. I was born in America. I assumed my freedom. I never questioned it. And 9/11 was quite the shock to the system. We've never been attacked like that on our home soil. I didn't know who had attacked this country. And frankly, I felt guilty that I didn't know who had attacked the country. I just assumed that, my country would always be free. So I went on a mission to find out who had attacked the country. And then it took me down a road where I studied Ibn Warwick, and I studied Robert Spencer, and I studied Bacheyor and the great scholars on Islam and the jihadic doctrine. And I've been fighting this battle, and it is a battle because obviously, I'm sure your viewers can relate to the violent jihad. I mean, there are upwards of 80 million Hindus who have been slaughtered in jihadi wars, land appropriations, cultural annihilations, and enslavements. What's happening in Kashmir even now is a terrible example. But there's also a stealth jihad, and that is the restriction of free speech in accordance with the blasphemy laws under the Sharia. You cannot criticize Islam. You cannot offend Islam. And so you see this. You see the media in America, a free press allegedly, self-enforcing the Sharia and demonizing and marginalizing the few of us that dare speak the truth. Because invariably, truth is the new hate speech. That's where we are now, Ashok.
So she says truth is the new hate speech, and many of us would definitely disagree in our own way, and we have our own reasons to believe in something or to look at something in a particular way. But right now, I want our viewers to know a little bit about that which we'll say unquestionably positive work from your side, which reflects your compassion in action. So you have done some work with Muslim girls also?
Oh, yes. My organization, I'm the president of the American Freedom Defense Initiative. It's dedicated to freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and individual rights. No special rights for special classes. And we see that the honor code of violence in many Islamic societies are coming to Western countries vis-a-vis immigration. And there are Muslim girls who want to live freer lives, that don't necessarily want to live wearing a hijab, or they want to, not be forced to marry a particular person. And so it's very difficult. It's difficult because of the honor code under Islam, and we've seen here in America Amina and Sarah Saeed, Noor al-Maliki, Asia, oh my goodness, what was her last name? In Buffalo, New York, her moderate Muslim husband beheaded her, where they are killed under the honor code of violence. And so it's not merely in the case of domestic violence, wherein, let's say, a wife is being abused by a husband, she needs to get away from the husband. This is much more complicated because it's a whole belief system. A young girl has to leave her family, leave her community, leave her mosque. In many cases, you take Rifka Barry. Rifka Barry was a young Muslim girl in Ohio, 17 years old, who had converted out of the faith. Now, under the Sharia, apostasy, as you know, is punishable by death. Now her mosque, the Noor Mosque, was spying on her, called her parents, found out she had converted out of Islam, and said, Rifka has converted out of Islam, straighten her out or else. Father came home immediately from a business trip and threatened to kill her. So she ran away. She ran to Florida, and it's a very long story. But getting these girls to safe places is key, and also the journey to leaving your family and leaving your community, leaving everything, is a very difficult one.
Listening to this tells me that there are clear-cut, direct moments of a little bit of confrontation, which might be potentially dangerous for anybody, the kind of confrontation that we are talking about. Now, my question to you was, in what way your organization is helping them, and is law enforcement agencies are also working with you in preventing these kind of incidents?
Well, as I was saying, we help get them to safe houses. That's how we help. Law enforcement can sometimes be a problem. As a matter of fact, there is a lawsuit now filed in Dearborn because they have been covering up honor killings because they don't want to upset a certain portion of the population. We were down in Florida, for example. There was a Muslim woman who was honor killed by her family, Fatima Abdullah. Now, we know this because she was confiding in a neighbor about what was going on in the house and what her brother was doing to her and so on and so forth, and that she was bringing shame on the family and this whole honor code of shame. And because the law enforcement in Hillsborough, in Tampa, in Florida, did not want to upset the very large Muslim community in Tampa, they listed her death as a suicide. They said she killed herself by banging her head on the coffee table. Now, you can't kill yourself by banging your head on a coffee table. You might knock yourself unconscious, but you wouldn't kill yourself. And so we protested. We had asked for a reopening of the case. I had even commissioned a forensic doctor to do a autopsy, but everybody was afraid of this issue. Everybody is afraid of this issue, and I think that's the problem. So, the problem is we can't talk about the problem.
Absolutely, and that's why I was saying, where do you have the root of such kind of fearlessness? Somehow, if everybody is afraid and somebody is not afraid, then you would put them as having a different sort of composition with respect to their relationship with fear. That's exactly what I was talking about. And when you want to increase awareness about anything, and you want others to understand your point of view, then it is important that you connect with them. And let's switch our gear slightly and talk about CNN and CNN anchor Pierre Morgan. Today the news is that probably they are going to change his role in CNN. And the analysis is that he probably is not connecting with American audience the way they expected it would happen. Maybe sometimes people didn't take lightly or kindly to his candid expressions about gun violence. Or maybe when he comes across as with British accent, probably some people are not connecting with him well. So you have been a journalist, you are a speaker also. Tell me, what are the key elements in connecting with Americans? It somewhere relates to your work also, I think.
The key element to connecting with Americans is to tell the truth. Period. He didn't. He was advancing, he was promoting his own agenda, and I think people are pretty fed up. I mean, you see, if you look at the numbers, and they're easy to see, you just go to online, TV by the numbers, you can look at the ratings of the news channels, whether it's CNN or MSNBC or Headline News, Fox News. Fox beats them all together, meaning all of those channels, CNN, MSNBC, Headline News, all together still don't beat Fox. Now, what's Fox doing? Everyone accuses Fox, of course, of being this right-wing network, which it's not. The difference between Fox and those that I just mentioned is that they have both sides. They have left and they have right. Now, MSNBC does not have right, and CNN does not have right. And when they do, they tend to put on cartoon characters like a Patrick Buchanan on the right. And I'm telling you that people are fed up. And that's what I really think is happening. Why would those numbers, the numbers, you know, numbers don't lie. It's why I love math. You know, you can't really, you know, make partisan numbers. It's just, it is what it is. And I think that that's what people want, and he wasn't giving it to them.
So that is the analysis of Pamela. And again, by saying that, I put my line here that this is what our views are. The thing is, what we want to say, what we believe in, many times it is possible that you would look only those evidence which supports your viewpoint. And that is probably happening with different news channels or whatever programs or whatever books are written. So, and I think that is bound to be there. So let me just repeat what I said.
But can I say something about that? There is objective truth. You know, Aristotle said A is A. And I don't go looking for evidence ever. If I see a problem, I want to know what the problem is. And in order to know what the problem is, you have to do research, and you have to read, and you have to read everything, okay? And there are just certain events and certain truths that are absolute. And I didn't see that with Piers Morgan. I didn't see him presenting facts. We never see the presentation of facts.
So we move away from peers for the time being, and also bring you in here by inviting you. If as we move along, we'll be talking more about how, when there is a tug of war sometimes between your privacy and your security as is perceived by the administration, then where would you stand? How much privacy are you willing to lose? And just putting the same theme in a different perspective, using internet lends you to losing your privacy to people who want to collect data and sell it to different marketing agencies so that they can approach you. So whatever facilities we are gaining, somewhere we are losing our privacy in some or the other way. So you can join in by calling 718-784-3232 down the line. Very soon we'll be opening our lines. But before that, as we proceed, Pamela, when you were growing up, America was different, and you were going to school. As we have always heard this phrase that there's a melting pot, a lot of immigrants here. So the scenario, the texture, the structure of American fabric, American society has undergone some change, I believe, that you must have also noticed. So now, as a New Yorker, what would you say has changed significantly? And if any of this change has caused a kind of concern for you?
Well, New York is the capital of the world, and New York has always welcomed everyone, and that remains unchanged. The only problem, of course, is when people could come over and want to impose their system on you. So that would be the concern. And clearly, security has become paramount in New York City. I mean, look, when I was growing up, you could walk into any building. There's no such thing anymore. You can't go into a New York City building without showing identification, and this is all part of the increased, awareness of terror. It's all a response to 9/11, which is why the refusal to acknowledge and address the motive behind 9/11 is so deeply troubling.
And in order to take care of that which concerns us, we figure out ways in which to counter it. And I believe American Freedom Defense Initiative was born out of some sort of a reaction to what you perceived as something that needed your attention.
Yes.
So tell us the philosophy behind American Freedom Defense Initiative.
Well, the philosophy was to increase awareness of the threats to our freedom, threats to freedom of speech, which I believe to be the cornerstone of this great republic. This nation was founded on individual rights, and it is in the free exchange of ideas that keeps this vibrant nation free. The idea that under certain laws in many countries, Islamic countries, that you would restrict free speech in accordance with Islamic law is an affront to this country. And it is insulting to every freedom-loving human being in this country. And for those that believe that that is not possible, let me assure you that we're seeing it all the time. Just a couple months ago, the Department of Justice, William Killian, lawyer for the Department of Justice, announced that the DOJ intended to criminalize postings on social media, on Twitter and Facebook, that offended Muslims. Now, I don't believe that we should go around offending anyone, but it doesn't really matter what I believe. The fact is you can. You are free to offend. That's the nation that we live in. And it's been pretty great for 200 plus years. And the idea that you would silence anybody who would criticize an ideology that calls for creed apartheid, gender apartheid, misogyny, and ethnic cleansing, I think is outrageous. So those are the changes that I see. The threat to free speech, the threat to individual rights. I don't believe in special rights for special classes. I fight for equality for all before the law, each man with the same, fierce defense.
So equality is, of course, a value which is cherished by America, and we probably have few lines which are already lit up here, and some people want to reach out to you. Let's take a few calls here. Hello, ITV Live. You're live with Pamela Geller. Oh, Geller. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead with your comment or contribution. What do you want to say? If you reduce the level of volume of your television, it will be easy to communicate. Yes, yes.
Trying to connect with live show.
Yes, yes, you are live with us. So go ahead with your comment. Please, once again, let me request, reduce the volume of your television because it obstructs. Can you say something now?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, go ahead.
Who am I talking to? Is that
Somehow we are breaking up, sir.
This is Dr. Kukar Ashok Vyas.
Okay, so Dr. Kukar, we are with Pamela Geller, and we are talking about how important is privacy as compared to potential security, and there are various dimensions in which we are talking about it. So what would be your take, and based on what you heard from Pamela, what would you like to say? I guess we have to let you go, sir. We can't really talk. Let me move on. Hello, ITV Live. You're live with Pamela.
America is blessed by having people like Pamela Geller and many others who stand up for what is correct and what needs to be done. Wow. If it wasn't for people like her and others, the United States will be a lousy country. So I want to compliment her for calling a spade. Just because somebody kills another innocent person does not mean he has the freedom to do so because of his religious belief, whether it be a Muslim or whether it be a Christian or a Jewish. Okay? And I think if Muslims do really believe that if a Muslim lady or a man converts to another faith, he should be killed, then they should have no right to convert others to their faith.
I think if there is any Muslim friend...
I'm calling a spade exactly the way Pamela Geller is calling. It is nothing against anyone, but if, as you said rightly, if we do not address the issues and the problem, we will never be able to solve the problem.
Yes.
Understanding faith is a two-way street. Don't ask me to understand your faith, but in either case, I want to say it is good to bring it, and I want to commend ITV to bring it to the attention of the public. It's a serious matter, and it needs to be addressed exactly in the right fashion in which it is being done.
We appreciate your call, sir. Thank you very much. And before we take a short break, I also want to seek Pamela's comment on another issue. And even before that, I want to encourage you to call. And whichever way you look at this issue, your thoughts are definitely important and valuable for us. So, Pamela, as the gentleman who called was also commenting, there must definitely be something good in whatever you are doing. I'm not questioning that. But now I want you to respond why this organization was banned in UK, in your opinion, and why you were barred from entering into UK in 2013. You were not allowed to participate in English Defence League rally because your presence was deemed to be not conducive to the public good. What bad might have happened through speech? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it was not an English defense rally. I was going with Robert Spencer and a coalition of freedom lovers, a Coptic Christian, Hindu princess actually, to lay a wreath at the site of the beheading of the British soldier on a public street outside of London. That's what I was going to do there. It was just to pay my respects on Armed Services Day. The British government said that our presence would not be, quote, conducive to the public good. They were afraid that angry Muslims would riot or do some dastardly action because we were there. But if the British government cannot protect its citizens from angry Muslims, then they've surrendered already, because they allow in the most hateful, the most egregious preachers of Islam. On a regular basis, they go and they speak at their universities that call for this crushing of the skulls of the infidel. That's okay, but my speaking in opposition to jihad might inflame the public good. So they were afraid of angering Muslims, which I think speaks to an enormous appeasement. And when we got the documents, because I'm suing the Queen and the Home Secretary. When we got the documents under the duty of candor, we did find out that they were citing my support of Israel as one of the reasons that they didn't want us there. So this speaks to even an anti-Semitism. And they said, don't mention that in the public document, because there are actually American presidents that support Israel too. So I think that their barring my entering the UK speaks more to their dimitude, speaks more to their fear and their inability to control their Muslim population than it speaks to me. I speak in defense of freedom. I oppose jihad. Who doesn't stand with me? I mean, my coalition is a coalition of Hindus, of Sikhs, of Christians, of Coptics, of Zoroastrians, anyone that's been a victim of jihad.
So the bottom line is we all want a peaceful world. I think everybody would agree with that. And then again, we need to take care of how we exist together. So this principle of coexistence is key to our survival. And how we address it, where we differ in addressing it, is something which needs our attention and our sincere attention. So if you want to join in this dialogue where we are talking about privacy versus security, because there is another important issue that has come up last week itself with the decision of a judge, and we'll talk about that right after this break. So stay with us.